broadcast.
Your performance too poor to speak to me like that.
My
What you saying?
If we grade on the curve, that means is in the swamp and my performance is poor.
Joe Budden podcast, you might have been shocked to see the Muffin Man, aka Antoine, throw his co-workers straight under that city bus. Here's how it all kicks off. At the very start of the pod, Ish falls for Joe's okey-doke super easily. What I mean is, when Joe Budden told Ish, hey man, you're not really performing like that, to question me and all this other stuff, everybody knows Joe's been on Ish's case about how little he contributes to the pod. And honestly, in a lot of ways, he's right. But here's the catch. It could be coming from a bad messenger, because Joe Budden is also kind of a meanie. But he pays the checks, and some people feel those checks are big enough that the rest of the cast just has to deal. But the second Joe says that, all hell breaks loose. Ish fires back, oh, if I'm slacking, what are these other people doing? And I was like, whoa, hold up, that was shocking. The reason it's shocking, it makes you start wondering, who exactly is he talking about? And then you start thinking, is he lacking the ability to reality test? My worry, self-awareness, because my brother, you need to worry about your own performance, which has been slacking. And like I said, one of my biggest theories is that Ish has felt underpaid the whole time he's been on the Joe Budden podcast. But yeah, we'll get into that theory a little bit later, because like I said in the last video, I didn't really dive deep. So the question is, who exactly was Ish talking about? Because we all know Ish isn't self-aware enough to be talking about himself. Now, let's run through the usual suspects. First up, Ice. Everybody knows Ice has been called out by fans and even people like me for not performing at the level you'd expect on a nationally recognized podcast with millions of listeners and downloads. But Ice isn't the only one in question. Ish might also feel Mona is slacking, showing up 30 minutes late, sometimes 40, sometimes 50. And don't sleep on that. It could even be an hour and a half late if they push the star of the show back just to accommodate her arrival, especially since Joe was probably cutting her a pretty penny. Then maybe it's Flip. Flip's probably slacking too, since the pod has scaled him down to just 1 day a week, and there's no way he's thrilled about that, so he's showing up only when his time allows. Now, how does all this sit with the rest of the cast? Honestly, I don't know, but it looked rough. That was shocking, seeing Ish fall for it so easily. And it's always wild how Joe gets his co-hosts to fall into these setups. Only Mark, Parks, and Ice a little bit really know not to step into Joe's traps. Like a couple of weeks ago, Mark Lamont Hill set a trap for Imani, telling him, oh, if Sue Surf comes back, you're the one who has to leave. Imani immediately felt insecure, his ego exposed, thinking, I'm gonna be fine, I don't really need this show. And then Joe slid in like, all right, now you're bugging.
For Surf to come home and be a part of this thing, but there's too many other variables.
Yeah, you gotta break it to Imani. It's gonna be tough.
Break it to me what? Hey Mark, I want you to know, I'll be okay.
See how you let him trick you into shooting?
No, but it's okay.
I mean, Imani's probably gonna be fine. Maybe he's thinking something like, yo, I've been through it. I'm from the Bronx. I know how to handle my business. I'll be okay. But here's the thing. While he might be fine, I don't think all eyes on E alone is gonna keep him financially afloat. Sure, it might work in the short term, but long term, if it were just all eyes on E and he wasn't leveraging a possible split from Joe Budden to pull in viewers, it would be tough. There's nothing wrong with just saying, I need to be on the show. But here's the kicker. People have ego. And you see it with all the men on the show. They have a lot of pride, and they don't like anyone downplaying what they do. That's exactly why I think I've stirred up such intense emotions from people like Ish.
I be wanting to boo bop. I ain't gonna lie to you.
You talking about that same one who?
Yeah,
I know
he
you talking
extra
about.
with it, dog. He's extra.
I
And
wonder if he's talking about who I'm thinking.
Yo,
Yes.
and he sits there and acts as if he got some inside information, like one of the young boys in the back or one of the accountants is telling him some shit, and people be believing, yo, see, I got a secret source, and the validity is this. Like, yo, nigga, you ain't fucking Woj. You ain't Fee. Like, shut your dumb ass up.
Cause I don't watch, straight up, that's why. Hey, Danny, I hope you were in here clipping it up too. But real talk, I don't rock with you at all, as I said in the initial comment I made on your page. So what popped all of this off? Honestly, what you did came off like a sucker move. Eddie Manning, your approach and the way you talk about people here isn't the same as how you would in front of them or while actually interviewing them. That's why it doesn't really get respect. You challenge their egos, and they're like, yo, is this guy just in his dark room making videos about me, telling me my value? But then again, I've always thought I was just representing maybe what they... Think about how Joe feels about them for a second. Now, let's circle back to my theory on why Ish might feel underpaid. If you remember, early on in their time there, Ish and Ice were super clear on one thing. Rory and Mal didn't really have to work. Yeah, they'd often say that podcasting didn't feel like a job to them. And look, when your friends become your work, no doubt that changes the dynamic. I mean, I can't speak for y'all, but personally, I wouldn't even see it as work. They'd often echo Joe's phrasing. Hey, this doesn't feel like work. This is something we do, sure, but it's all about friendship. The chemistry is what makes this successful. But here's the kicker. That wasn't the only stance Ish and Ice had. They also went at Joe saying, yo, Joe, you ain't have a deal.
Spotify, you still kept the pay going.
Facts.
You made a mistake in doing it. So now if you don't have any revenue coming in, you should have never paid the...
Could it be that Ish and Ice believed the same thing at the very start of their time on the Joe Budden podcast? Did they accept a lower pay knowing that Joe didn't have a Spotify deal or a Revolt deal or anything like Rory and Mal had coming in? Maybe they thought, all right, we're going to thug it out a little, I won't ask for too much. Of course, that shifts once new cast members join and the Patreon grows a bit. But I think when Ish and Ice first got there, they took a deal to hold Joe down. Over time, though, they probably realized, damn, we weren't really getting paid much. They might have found out what Flip, Melissa Ford, and Mark Lamont Hill were making, and obviously those guys make way more because of their entertainment background and ability to pull in views just by being themselves. Ish and Ice didn't have that leverage, which hurt their negotiation power, especially at the beginning, forcing them to take what I assume was a lesser deal than they felt they deserved. Looking back now, they probably thought early on, yo, this is a good deal. I'm new, getting accolades, people watch me every week, I can get hosting gigs, I'm getting noticed outside, people calling me the man when I walk in. But now, they're probably thinking, this ain't it, dog. I'm sharing this theory to explain why Ish and Ice chronically half-step and don't take things as seriously as they should. They just show up and do the minimum. I also think it's because they overvalue what they did on the Cold Crush compared to what Joe did. And don't forget, this comes right after Joe mentioned splitting the Ish and Ice couch, so it really looks like Joe believes a big part of why the pod is in this downward spin is because of the newer couch. But I don't know about that. I feel like Joe just doesn't make moves like he used to. For all the talk about him changing things, he's not the same guy. I remember when he used to actually make choices. Well, actually, maybe he never really did because he stayed stuck in that Rory and Mal situation way too long until it got messy. But yeah, this show is definitely on a downward spin. I've never seen so many people say, yo, I'm canceling my Patreon. I'm not really feeling it. It's been weird. And Joe hasn't made any major moves, hasn't shifted the pieces around. He's just kind of coasting with whatever's happening. And I think that's because he knows there's no real competition out there. Back in the day, Rory and Mal would put a little fire under Joe's belly, but that fire's gone now. $1 million worth of game used to do the same, but that's not working anymore either. Now he knows he can just let the ship sail. As long as it stays afloat, he's good. But we'll see. New shows are coming. They've been mentioning them on the pod, and maybe those'll hit. But if the main show isn't solid, none of that really matters. All right, y'all, let me know what you think about Ish and his comments about other people slacking. I was really taken aback. Didn't expect Ish to drop something that wild, but he did. And now we gotta add it to the files. Oh boy. When I started that episode, I was like, oh my God. I was at the stop offices telling Terry, go home. We've got the files we need for today. We're good. This video has to drop first thing Sunday because this stuff moves fast, y'all. And yeah, that's really the vibe. He thinks people are straight up slacking on the show. Jesus Christ, I still can't believe the Muffin Man fell for me.